The science of baking. Yummy, yummy in my tummy.
Whoa! Look at that! Science Club for Girls Live. Let's all take one deep dive into the world of science, technology, engineering, and math. Get your safety goggles, 'cause we're making things explode. Science is so fun, so let's take it on the road. Meet a young scientist just like you and learn all about what they do. We'll even learn science that's in the news through one-on-one interviews with SCFGLive and friends. Experimenting never ends. Now let's see what's in store. Just press play and get ready to explore. Ho, 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 hey, hey. Ho, 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 hey, hey.
Sally, cookie for you. Cookie for me.
Yum.
These cookies are so good, Sally.
Hannah, wait a second.
Sally, are they chocolate chips in there?
Yeah.
Oh,
But
love chocolate chips.
But Hannah,
Okay, what, Sally?
it's SCFG Live time.
Oh my gosh, I almost forgot. Sally, these cookies were so scrumptious. I almost forgot it was SCFG Live today.
Yeah, you were really in there. You were lost in it.
I mean, best cookies ever. Don't you just love cookies?
I love cookies. And guess what? You're going to be so happy with today's topic.
Oh, I'm really, really hoping it's related to cookies in some way.
Yeah, ready? I'm going to give you more hints.
Okay.
You know, there's pies, pizzas,
Yum.
cakes, muffins.
Okay, it's definitely gotta be baking and cooking.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
Did you
so
learn about
excited.
Baking and cooking.
Sally, I love food. I love cold foods. I love hot foods. I love morning foods. I love dinner foods. I like foods that you eat. Well, all
I like
foods you
foods
eat
that
really
are-
slimy. Well, that's kind of gross.
And I like
foods
foods
that
that
are really crunchy. And I like foods that are. Anyway, I just love food.
Me too. I'm so excited to learn all about cooking and baking in today's episode.
Me too. And I'm excited to learn how much science is related to cooking because I'm sure there's a lot of science in cooking.
Yeah, if there's anything I've learned from SCFG Live is that science is everywhere.
That sure is true. All right, Sally, I'm just so hungry. Can we please get started?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay. Oh, wait. I do want to have one more cookie.
Okay. Yeah.
Today we're going to start off with some of my favorite tasty treats. Baked goods.
Mm-hmm.
Francesca, what's your favorite baked good?
I'm gonna have to say classic cake. What about you?
That's a good one, but I have to say muffins.
Muffins?
Yep, they're just a tasty breakfast treat or a mid-afternoon snack.
Very true. Muffins are really interesting. Wait, we actually have one right here.
No way.
Hey, look at this, Hannah. I got you a muffin.
How'd you know it's not even my birthday?
You know, because we're friends, and I thought you'd have a treat. Let's take a closer look at this muffin to see the inside of it. I'm gonna cut it in half. Can you guys see that? Well, I see lots of pockets of air all over the place. All different sizes, too.
That was a great observation, Francesca.
Thanks.
But thinking back on it, I definitely don't remember adding any air into my batter. So how did these air bubbles get there?
Yeah, I don't remember you doing that either. I actually don't know.
Well, I think I might have an idea. I do know that these air bubbles are a kind of gas, mostly carbon dioxide, that are formed when certain ingredients are added into our batter. And these ingredients are called leavening agents.
Leavening agents? That sounds like a superhero or something. Is that what it is?
I guess you could say that, and their superpower is to make baked goods light and fluffy. Muffins are an example of what bakers call a quick bread. Quick breads don't use any yeast as their leavening agent. In typical breads, yeast is used as the leavening agent, but it typically takes hours and hours and hours to work. And I don't know about you, Francesca, but I'm pretty hungry. I don't really want to wait any longer than a couple minutes.
Yeah, we simply just do not have the time for that. I'm really hungry and I would like to eat as fast as possible.
I agree. That's why in quick breads, we're going to use a different leavening agent called baking powder. Baking powder is a dry mixture that contains a couple of different ingredients, such as cornstarch, sodium bicarbonate, sodium aluminum phosphate.
Wait, Hannah. I can't do all these complicated words.
Don't worry, you don't need to remember all of these ingredients. I can't even remember all of them.
Goodness.
Just know that all the ingredients in baking powder help to cause a chemical reaction to occur in our batter.
Wait a second. I've made so many chemical reactions before. A chemical reaction is just basically when you add 2 or more ingredients and then they combine to create something completely new.
That's exactly right. And in our batter and in other quick breads, the ingredients in baking powder cause a chemical reaction to occur that produces carbon dioxide. Those were those air bubbles that we saw in our muffins that help to make our muffins and other quick breads light and fluffy.
That's really cool. Hold on, I have an idea for an experiment.
What is it?
I am wondering what would happen if we added less leavening agent or more leavening agent. How would that affect our muffins?
I think that's a great idea. I do have a prediction.
Oh, what's your prediction?
I think if we add more leavening agent, it's going to cause more bubbles of carbon dioxide to form, which means a lighter, fluffier, bigger muffin. And less leavening agent is going to do the exact opposite. Less carbon dioxide bubbles, less light and fluffiness, and a smaller muffin.
That sounds like a good prediction. Let's go test it out.
Let's do it.
All right, so now I'm gonna go ahead and make the muffins for Hannah because it's her birthday. All right, so first you're gonna start off with all the dry ingredients, and that's gonna be 1/2 cup of flour, 1/2 cup of cornmeal, and 1/2 tablespoon of sugar. All right, and you're gonna mix that all together. And then we have our 3 different bowls. And each of the different bowls is gonna have the same amount of those ingredients, flour, cornmeal, and sugar, but we're gonna have different amounts of baking powder. So in my first bowl, I'm only gonna add 1 teaspoon of baking powder. In my second bowl, it's gonna be 2 teaspoons. And then in the last one, 4 teaspoons. Oh man, maybe Hannah will really like these big ones. Now we're gonna add our wet ingredients in there. So first you're gonna make a well in the center of your dry ingredients. Then you're gonna put 1 beaten egg into the middle, then 1/2 cup of milk, and then 2 tablespoons of melted butter, and then stir. So you're gonna stir until it is smooth. Now you're gonna line your muffin tray so that each color represents the different amounts of baking powder are in them. So in this video, I have my orange and my yellow as my 1 teaspoon. I have my green and my blue as my 2 teaspoons. And then I have my purple and pink as my 4 teaspoons so that I know when they come out of the oven how much baking powder each of them has. Now it's time to bake our muffins at 425 degrees Fahrenheit. This part, you're really gonna want an adult to do it for you. And then you're gonna leave them in there for about 15 to 20 minutes or until they're baked all the way through and they're kind of brown. All right, now that we baked our muffins, it's time to take them out of the oven and wait about 10 minutes until they're cooled down. And here we are, we have our muffins. Do you wanna make some observations about the different heights of our muffins?
That's a great idea. So first thing I noticed is that our muffin with 4 teaspoons of baking powder is a lot taller than our muffin with only 1 teaspoon of baking powder and the muffin with 2 teaspoons of baking powder. Seems like the more leavening agent we added, the baking powder, the higher the muffin got.
Yeah, to make this scientifically accurate, I think we should measure them out with a ruler.
I think that's a great idea. And I have a ruler right here.
Perfect.
Let's go ahead and measure and jot down our data in our data table.
All right, we have our data. Here it is.
Looks like I was right, Francesca. The muffin with 4 teaspoons of baking powder was the tallest.
Yep, so
I want to do something else. How about we cut open our muffins and see what the insides look like and see how they might be different depending on the amount of leavening agent, baking powder, that we added.
all right, let's see.
The muffin with 4 teaspoons of baking powder has a lot of holes inside. That's because the baking powder caused a chemical reaction to occur when heat was added. This formed a new gas called carbon dioxide. The muffin with 2 teaspoons of baking powder has a few holes, but not as many. That's because there's less baking powder, meaning a smaller chemical reaction and less carbon dioxide was produced. The muffin with only 1 teaspoon of baking powder has a few holes, but not as many scattered throughout. That's because there was less baking powder used and therefore a smaller chemical reaction and less carbon dioxide produced.
Hey everyone! I'm super excited to introduce you to two extra special friends. I just met them 2 seconds ago. Fatima and Skylar. Why don't you wave to the camera? Hi! These two awesome young scientists are going to do an experiment with me today. Are we ready?
Yes!
Woo! Let's get started. Alright, so we're going to be experimenting with yeast. Have you ever heard of yeast before?
Yes.
Where have you heard of yeast before? Yeah?
In bread.
Yes, Skylar too.
I used it in science at my school. We used it as our catalyst in elephant toothpaste.
Whoa! Why'd you use it in your elephant toothpaste?
So it could go like higher and it helps yeast, it likes to escape from the bottle. It makes carbon dioxide that likes to escape. So when you put yeast in elephant toothpaste, that's why it wants to explode.
Oh my goodness! What? You guys know so much about yeast. Fatima, why is it used in bread?
It's used in bread to help the dough rise.
Whoa!
Because when you put it in the oven, it rises. The yeast helps it rise.
Wow!
It makes it expand. So like when you put it in the oven, the bread wants to expand because of all the carbon dioxide.
Why don't we look at some bread right now and maybe we can see those bubbles. You guys open the bread? Oh, sourdough! My favorite. I'm gonna eat a grilled cheese later with it. All right, why don't you guys open the bread and we're gonna see what's inside. Whoa! That's a big piece of bread! All right, why don't we rip that bread open?
Ready? You take up a piece. Oh, this top is so hard. Here's the...
Look at that piece right there. What do you guys observe about that piece of bread?
It has air bubbles.
Oh yeah.
And it's soft.
And stretchy.
It has a lot of bubbles because there was a lot of yeast producing carbon dioxide.
And the bread seems so risen because we baked the yeast into the bread, and that's why it made it so puffy.
Exactly! Wow, these young scientists know how to observe the world around them. All right, so are we ready to experiment with yeast and see it in action, creating carbon dioxide?
Yes.
Woo! Okay, let's get started. All right, girls, why don't we talk about what we need for this experiment?
Okay, so we're gonna need a water bottle,
Sugar.
and some yeast.
Yeast.
Oh, and I think hot water. Yeah. And a funnel. And we're gonna put it in the water bottle. And a balloon.
All right, now that we have all the materials, let's get started. Scientist, take it away.
Okay.
And
So,
the sugar.
yep, she's gonna put it in the water. Just tip it over. I'm gonna put the yeast packet. Okay. That's good. Oh, it does smell like bread.
Yeah, it smells like yeast. Fatima, why did you put sugar into the water?
We put sugar into the water because sugar is like food for the yeast.
Yeah, so the yeast gets activated and eats up the sugar. Yum, 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 yum.
Yes.
And then it starts producing carbon dioxide. All right, what's the next step?
Next we mix it.
Mix, mix, mix.
And it's a little bit white.
It's kind of like a clearish, brownish, colorish.
Okay, what's the next step here? It looks like you are both ready.
First, we're gonna get a water bottle and a funnel, and we're gonna pour our mixture into the funnel.
I'm gonna roll down the funnel so it doesn't tip over. You should have someone to help you with this because it's very hard.
All right. Perfect. Why don't we put some into Skylar's water bottle too? Perfect. All right. Now, what's
and put it over the tops of our water bottle.
Why are we doing that?
So we can see the carbon dioxide
Leave the bottle. The carbon dioxide is going to float in this balloon to make it bigger and bigger and expand.
Yeah, we're gonna see all the carbon dioxide go into the balloon, and the balloon is gonna go from flat like this to inflated like wow. And now, how long are we gonna leave this for?
I guess a few hours maybe.
Maybe 1 hour. We're gonna wait 1 hour.
7, 8, 9. Oh man.
I think we should go check up on our water bottle. What do you think?
Alright, let's see.
Wow.
Whoa! What is that in the water bottle? Magic?
It's carbon dioxide.
Basically, if you can see, the thing is very blurry, and that's because all the yeast, that's kind of like in the bread where there's air bubbles. It's trying to leave the bottle, all the carbon dioxide from the yeast.
And it's evaporating.
Yep, and it's going in here. All of this thing is right here is air. It's kind of like when you blow up blow a bubble or blow up a balloon.
Exactly. And this is what happens in the oven when you bake bread, right?
Yes.
It gets trapped in the dough and creates bubbles like we saw in the sourdough bread. And this is like the dough. The balloon is like the dough, and the air inside is the carbon dioxide. Whoa! Young scientists, what do you think would happen if we baked bread and we forgot the yeast?
I think it would get all mushy and slouchy, and it would like be flat as a pancake, and it wouldn't taste as good.
You're the smart scientist, aren't you?
Thank you. You too, Sally.
Well, thank you, Science Club Girls Live, for joining us today. And thank you to my young scientists.
Hey, young scientists! I'm here at Clear Flour Bakery, and today we're going to interview a real baker to see all the science that's involved in baking. Right, let's go. Now it's time to meet the owner of Clear Flour Bakery, and she's going to tell us all about the science of baking. Hi, Nicole. It's so nice to be here with you today at Clear Flour Bread.
So great to be here.
Yeah. All right, let's get started.
Okay, great.
Hey guys, guess what? We're gonna go through the secret staff entrance. Hey, let's go.
All starts here, really. So this is a starter. So this is what's gonna help us inoculate the rest of the dough with like live cultures. So
Wait a second. You just said there's living things in that?
yes.
What does that mean?
Yes. So there is yeast in the air. So we are constantly surrounded by living things. We're breathing in living things. So this is an example of where we capture that and add it to ingredients, and it's going to create a living world with flour and water. And flour is the food that these little tiny organisms are gonna eat, and then they'll fart it out. And that's what's happening with those gas bubbles inside. So they're gonna eat, and they're going to live inside of this environment that's warm and it's full of food. And then that's gonna help us create the bread.
Remember when Nicole said yeast like to be warm and cozy? Well, why do they have to be warm and cozy to do their job?
Yeast as us. I don't like when I'm really, really cold. I don't do a lot. I want to cozy and stay in bed and watch TV. The yeast is the same. It doesn't want to do a lot when it's really cold. When it's really hot, you just kind of want to get it over with and move really fast, and then you're so tired because it's too hot. So yeast is the same. It likes, early summertime weather. It's nice 70 to 80 degrees. We want to you're moving, but you're not too exhausted, you're not too slow. It's a right environment for fermentation, which is what helps us get the best bread possible.
Awesome. So I realized that upstairs you were folding that pizza dough over and over. Why did you do that?
Well, great question. 2 reasons we do that. One is because we want to redistribute all of the living organisms and the yeast that are in there. So all those gas bubbles, they might be in one area. We want them to be all over. So we take the dough and we spread it out and we build it back together so that it's evenly distributed. And then the second reason is because we want the temperature to be distributed evenly. So we also want, there's hot spots up here and there's cold spots down here, and we want it to all be the same temperature because temperature is the most important thing with baking.
Awesome.
You know how in focaccia there's a lot of bubbles at the top? Here's another technique to get more air at the top. Wow, that's a lot of yeast farts.
Well, what happens to the yeast when they go in the oven?
Well, they're done with their job, so they go home.
Oh, wow.
I have another question for Nicole. What if we didn't have yeast? Is there another way to make bubbles?
Fran, have you ever seen those volcanoes that erupt in science projects when you do like a little kid that does at home?
Yeah, I actually love those projects.
So cool. So these are two big ingredients that can create that same reaction.
Whoa, so you could eat it?
Yes. So some chemicals are edible, and these are two of them. So if you take any acid, lemon juice, buttermilk, and you add it to baking soda, it's going to create a foam that will explode.
Whoa!
But we capture it in food. So we make something called Irish soda bread, where we mix these two, and the same thing in bread happens in our pastry, where we're gonna create gas bubbles inside. But this time it's not with yeast, it's with these two.
It's so nice to meet you, Nicole. I'm so glad I get to interview you today.
So great to meet you, Sally. I'm glad you're here.
Awesome. I have a couple questions. Like, what kinds of science are involved in baking?
So there's 3 different kinds of sciences in baking. We have chemistry, which is the baking soda and the acid that we showed you upstairs. We have biology, which is the living organisms we talked about inside the bread. And then we have physics, which we talked about all of those bubbles inside the bread. They're gonna rise and fall.
So, Nicole, what got you into baking? Like, why did you want to become a baker and not maybe, I don't know, a scientist?
Well, I guess I'm a little bit of both, Sally, but the reason I wanted to be a baker is because my grandmother taught me how to bake, and I love my grandmother. She would pick lemons, and we would turn them into lemon bars in the same afternoon. It was amazing, and I knew how happy that made me. I wanted to make other people happy with food I made.
That's awesome. So, I want to know what's the hardest part about being a baker?
Well, Sally, it has to be the early wake-up calls. Sometimes we're getting up at 3 in the morning.
3 in the morning? Why are you getting up at 3 in the morning?
Because the bread takes 2 full days to make.
Oh, my goodness, that's really hard. But now you have to convince me. Why would I want to be a baker? What's the best part?
The best part is being surrounded by all the sweet smells and the fun people that like to work in a kitchen. You're just making cookies all day long. What's wrong with that?
You're so right. Wow, thank you so much, Nicole, for interviewing with us. That was the best day ever.
Thanks, you scientists, for joining us today on SCFGLive on the road. Today was such an awesome experience to see everything that goes on in a baker. Nicole, thank you so much for joining with us today.
Of course. Thanks so much for coming by. And I've got these goodies for you, too.
Ooh, Sally's gonna be so happy.
Hannah, I think you're forgetting something again.
Oh, we're back on SCFGLive.
Yeah.
Sally, these cookies are just so good. I really just need to stop eating them because I keep getting distracted.
And it's all possible with the science of baking and cooking. You know, it was so interesting today to learn about leavening agents like yeast and baking powder. Wow.
Yep, super cool. And it was also awesome to have Skylar and Fatima on our show. They're gonna be some awesome food scientists one day, Sally.
Yeah, they taught me so much about yeast. Wow. I'm just so excited from this episode. I think I'm going to bake some fresh bread.
I think that's a great idea. I definitely got in the mood for some fresh bread when we went to Clear Flour Bakery.
Oh yeah, all the smells and the sights. Oh.
So good. All right, Sally, I do have one request.
Yes.
If you bake fresh bread, I definitely will want some.
Of course, Hannah. You're my very best friend. Of course I'm going to send you some.
Oh, that's so sweet. Well, thank you everyone out there for joining us for a tasty episode of SCFG Live. We'll see you next week.
Bye, everybody. Bye.
This episode of SCFG Live has been brought to you by National Grid, who supports Science Club for Girls' mission in making STEM exciting and accessible to all. Both National Grid and Science Club for Girls support women in STEM and are working towards making STEM more diverse, equitable, and inclusive. Science Club for Girls is a nonprofit organization that fosters excitement, confidence, and literacy in STEM for girls and young women from underrepresented communities with free experiential community-based programs. To help keep our programs free, please consider making a donation today. Learn more and donate at scienceclubforgirls.org.